Welcome to The Actor's Choice, where the actors and actresses have a chance to talk about themselves and their careers. Join us now for the next hour as we explore the marvelous industry of acting by actors and actresses from today's exciting show business world. And now, direct from Hollywood, here's your host, Ron Brewington.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ron Brewington, and welcome to The Actor's Choice. Brought to you by Photography is an Art, Harvey Brandman, Master Photographer. Located at 1307 North San Fernando Boulevard, Burbank, California. Attorney Larry Buford's Book to the Future, Time Travel, Message in a Capsule, State Farm agent Carla Green, and veteran actor Rob Brownstein's Actor Training School and Actor Space. Roll it. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just seen a short montage of my first guest today. She's an actress skilled to perform on a stage, a set, or anywhere that acting is needed. She's from the state of Washington, now living here in the City of the Angels. Please welcome Deirdre Lyons. There we go. Now you have it? Okay.
Yes, I hear you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, well, greetings and welcome to The Actor's Choice. Okay, let's get right to it. What made you get into acting? I mean, you could have done anything else, my dear. You know that and I know it, but you chose acting. Why?
True. I mean, and if anybody knows anything about acting, if you can do anything else, you probably should. But, you know, I'd just been doing it since I was a kid and I loved it. And I just kept coming back to it over and over throughout my life. I did a lot of theater up in Seattle because it's kind of a theater town. Then I moved down to LA to get into more film and television. I did a bunch of independent projects down here. I did some producing as well. And then in 2016, I started in immersive theater. And that's a lot of the things that you just saw in that little montage there was my immersive theater work since 2016.
All right. You've been a busy lady. Let's go to the year 2003. Let's go back a little bit. And according to the IMDb, you got your first actor and producer credit for playing the lead role as Katrina in a movie of the same name.
Yes. Well, that was a learning experience. It was a great little short film that we did. My husband and I, we both produced it. Our neighbor wrote it and directed it. It was a little like Melrose Place here at our Whitworth household in our Whitworth complex here. And we all just sort of got along together. We were all artists together. And so we created this little project and sent it out into the world to film festivals and got to travel some. It was really lovely.
Excellent. Let's jump 4 years ahead. And there you are playing a nurse in a short film thriller called Torture Room.
Room. Yes. Well, that is actually a feature film by a gentleman named Eric, Master of Horror, Eric Forsberg. There it is. I'd done a previous feature with him as well called, it was originally called Liebentod and then turned into Night of the Living Dead.
Wow.
So a couple of fun horror films there.
Wow. Indeed. Katrina. Okay. In 2009, you and a fellow by the name of George S. Bochco, not Bochco, Butchko.
Yes,
Right.
that's the
Worked on an Iwo Jima documentary.
Yes. Well, it was actually my husband's sort of passion project. My husband is Stephen Butchko, and he wanted to do a documentary about his uncle who was was one of the, the nurses. They have a different word for him, but it was on that particular island during the war, and he felt like a lot of the veterans were passing, and he wanted to make sure that he documented his story before he did so. And so he made the documentary. I helped him with it, and we did it together. And then he sent it out into the film festival world as well.
Wow. Well, thank you. I'm a retired Navy man myself. We thank you for people doing things like that. It
it's
gives
very
us a lot.
important to remember our history.
Yes, remember our history. Indeed. I see that after your relocation to L.A., you and Butchko formed the T.H. Esbian Productions with
Yes.
with a premiere production of a dramatic work called Escher's Hands.
Yes, that's correct. It was a
Wow.
play that we did in Hollywood. We did a little 6-week run of that. It was a, it was a learning experience. One of which is there's not a lot of people go to theater in LA like they do in Seattle. It's a little bit harder to get people to leave their homes in such a film and television town.
Yeah.
But we learned a lot, and it was a great experience. I wouldn't trade it. It helps me grow. It helps me know what it's like to be a producer when I'm an actor on something. And I come into a project, I know how much work has gone into it before I even auditioned, before I even set on my foot on the stage or the set.
Got you, because you stepped your foot on the stage many, many times.
Yes.
Indeed, indeed. We'll talk about that. Because through the years, you've had some very interesting roles. Now, here's one that you had, Good Behavior, another short film. By the way, as I was going through your resume, I noted that of the 20 credits that you've got, 11 of them are short films. Is there something about short films that you like?
Well, when I first got here, I'd come from a theater town. So
Uh-huh.
I like, I'm going to need some material for my reel so people can see my work. And because, it's harder to get them to come out to see it live, I thought, well, I'll do a bunch of short films, then I'll have some material to put up on my Actors Access, on, my personal, promotional websites, that kind of thing. So I ended up doing quite a few of those, and it was like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You don't do anything different from a short film than you would for a feature.
Exactly.
Just shorter or longer.
Right. Because as you know, a lot of actors, they use those short films to break up time so they can go do some stage work.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Speaking of stage work, just take a moment here. I have a bone to pick with some actors and actresses. We see them here in LA. They come here and with illusions of grandeur. We don't know what they want to be, but they don't want to get up on that stage. That's my biggest bite. I get real mad with them. They come here, I want TV, I want big screen. What about that big stage over there? Like the Pantages,
Oh, it's true. And it's a little scary to get up on stage and do something live, like what we're doing right here. Like maybe my cat's going to interrupt us, or maybe I'm accidentally going to hit my stand here and the whole thing's, there is a kinetic energy involved in doing something live and doing theater live. But what you miss if you don't do it is that feedback you get from the audience, that absolute pure energy exchange between the actor and the audience. So if you haven't done some theater, it's really great. So give it a try.
I keep telling them that's my message. Give it a try. Just try it. Don't get mad. Go out there and try it one time. Like you say, when you stand in front of a crowd of people, the grease paint, the thrill of the road, all those different things, you feel that while you're up there doing that work. Wow. Okay, a second role that you did was a TV miniseries called The Willows. Roll it, Tony.
Yes. The Willows. So as I was mentioning in 2016, I got, you're going to play it.
I see that in the movie The Willows, your name was Deirdre. Deirdre playing Deirdre.
That's correct.
That was interesting.
I was honored and lucky enough to have that role sort of fashioned for me. It was double cast. That actually started out as an immersive theater experience. So I have to shout out to JFI Productions, and they're hiring me in 2016 in entry, and then after that in the Willows. So we did that in 2016, 2017. No, 2017, 2018, 2019, we remounted that show because it was so popular. And then during that process, they turned it into a VR experience. So you can actually see it in virtual reality and sort of experience the Willows from your VR headset.
Okay. Next question. We have time for one more from your montage. It was called Freaking Weekend. Roll it, Tony.
I used to live on the edge, Dr. Presley.
We never talk about your relationship. How's it going?
Had enough?
Good.
You need a vacation, and I know just the place.
Welcome to the Franklin house where lovers come to be lovers. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day and we need to properly kick it off.
So what are we chosen to?
To finding love.
So what'd you think of Freakin' Weekend?
It was also a lot of fun. That one being a comedy. So both of those movies are in virtual reality. You can see them in a virtual reality headset. And what's fun about that is it's a little bit of the old choose your own adventure kind of formats. So you'll watch the film and then at a certain point it'll stop and then you get to choose what you want to do. So like, let's say Deirdre comes out of the kitchen and says, oh my goodness, I could really use your help. You can choose to go with her or you can choose to stay at cocktail hour. So there is a little bit of, fun in that. You get to participate in it.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, this lady came here for a very special reason today. We were just trying to let you see some of the work that she's done in her past, because she's doing a program right now, a very special project that she's now engaged in called The Under Presents Tempest. Roll it, Tony.
Are you looking for a little entertainment? You've come to the right place. Prepare to be mesmerized. Prepare to be beguiled, enraptured by the impossible. A venue unlike any other. A venue outside of time and space. May I present The Under.
Wow. Now that was magic. That was creativity. That was VR. Would you please give us a synopsis of what we just saw?
Okay, well, so this sort of all grew out of a company called Tender Claws that has a sort of a studio where they created virtual reality, which was a game you could go on and play in headset. And this was back when VR was kind of new, and they were like, no funny in VR. This is a very serious platform. We've got, first shooter games and we've got, and then they came along and they did this really silly and fun game and everybody loved it. And so their second production was The Under Presents, because Samantha, one of the co-owners of the studio, wanted to explore live actors in VR. So not only are you going in to experience this world, you're running into live characters while you're in there randomly. So what you just showed was a clip of The Under Presents, which is where it's all started. So there's sort of a loop of a stage where they're dancing, and that's sort of pre-recorded, done by Piehole. And then there's me and a bunch of other actors who come in and do these sort of random, like improv devised theater experiences. We have different characters. Like one of my characters is Annie the anarchist and I'm a cat. One of my other characters is Francine and she's a skeleton. Sometimes I play Amelia Earhart as a skeleton as well, or Theodora the thespian, and we do Shakespeare on stage. But it's all sort of a way for the people who are in the under to experience what it's like to have live people all of a sudden show up and engage them in an activity.
So it's people, it's not a cartoon.
Right. It is. The world looks kind of cartoonish, but with your VR headset and with your controllers, you're actually moving and interacting and talking directly to the audience members in there.
Okay. You mentioned the name Samantha. Is she part of The Under?
She is. So The Under Presents is one of the products of Tender Claws, the name of the studio that put it out.
Interesting.
And she's one of the co-owners of that. And she's an amazing person. She's just done so much. And she just got her PhD and she's going to be teaching, and they've got this studio they're running, and they're, putting out more content, new stuff that hasn't even hit the horizon yet. I mean, she's amazing. And then Danny, the other half, is he's also there running a lot of the tech and getting, a lot of the stuff done that I am not involved in. I'm mostly interacting with Samantha because she's, the creative, the director. She also wrote The Tempest, and she's just super amazing.
I mean, we're talking about stills, we're talking about talkies, we're talking about, all the way back there. And look at us now. Look at us now.
Yeah, well, and it's funny you say that because it's in some ways it's the same because where film was in the 20s, VR is now. So in the 20s, everybody was like, how long should a film be? I don't know. Should we put music with it? How do we get people to talk? What's the best sort of way to sort of tell a story? And now we've got 100 years later where it's like, oh, okay, so over the shoulders and fast cuts and, zoom shots and, shots from way up above to establish, like they've sort of figured out the format. So VR is sort of in that same place as film was in the 20s, where everybody's like, well, what do we do with this thing? Well, what can't you do with it?
Right. What can you do with it? Yes.
Yeah.
Now, there's something very Shakespearean about your role. Can you tell us about it?
Oh, well, so what happened was, so the Underpresents sort of existed, which is a multiplayer universe. And then it also had a single player element called the Time Boat. And as the pandemic happened, Samantha was wondering, how can I keep these actors employed? And so she created the Underpresents Tempest and added to the Underpresents a theater called the Decameron. And you can go to that theater, you can buy a ticket, and at a certain time, whenever you've purchased your ticket you'll find yourself transported into the theater of a lobby of a theater, and then at the appointed time, your show will start. And all of a sudden you're transported to a fire pit in the Hollywood Hills. And you learn that this actor, me or one of the other actors, the other 10 actors, will tell you how they, they're sort of stuck at home and they all their productions have closed, all their theaters have closed, and they need to rehearse for the Tempest because it's the one thing that hasn't actually canceled yet. And so the Prospero or Prospera engages all of the audience into helping her explore and rehearse the Tempest.
Now,
it's about a 4-minute show, and the actors that play it sort of do it sort of like a one-person show, but we transport from location to location, and we also engage the audience members in the show.
Okay. Now, you said actors, the exact numbers, there are 11 other actors besides yourself?
That's correct.
Wow.
Yeah. And we're all different. So we all started with the same base script, sort of the same template, the same, we all learned it, we all memorized it and figured it out. And then Samantha was like, okay, now go ahead and put your own spin on it, bring your own framing, your own point of view. So each of the different actors has sort of their own way of telling the story.
Okay.
And then, of course, since the audience is there participating, any of the audiences can do something different, which will change the story as well. So every time you come to see the Tempest, it's going to be a little different.
Now, this is new for you, I understand. So you actually you enlist the audience to help you rehearse. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do. And so, in like the first scene, we will cast them as like the boatmen in the first scene of the storm, and we'll send them up to the balcony, and they have like a little steering wheel, and they're supposed to steer the ship, and then we bring them down, and then they teach them a little magic to do, and then they sort of create the story that we're telling.
Wow. I would estimate with personal variations among each actor and a new group of participants to each showtime, it would seem that no two performances would be the same.
That's right. Yeah. So like I'm very I'm very kind of classically trained in a way, like theater is like, so I went in, I memorized everything and I got it all like down. And then there's some actors who are just more comfortable with improv or, more from a different background. Like we have one actor who is more of a opera and clown based mask puppeteer. We have one actor who's got, just a sort of a dry sense of humor, and he's very funny. And my other friend, she's very contemplative, and then her performance is very thoughtful.
Okay.
But all of them are engaging, and all of them are very different.
Okay, now tell us about the schedule. You're what, 4 times a day or something like that? Please tell us.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. So the show runs 7 days a week. So on Monday through Friday, it runs at or this is all Pacific Standard Time, but you know, the Oculus headset will adjust for your time zones. Or so 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 7 o'clock. And then on the weekends, it's 11, 12, 1, and 2. So I'm on Mondays and Wednesdays along with a couple other actors. And we will take, we'll take a show with about, it's like 6 or 7 people. And like I said, it's a bit of a one-person show where we go through and we go through them through the show the whole time. And then, then that's like, that's kind of through the end of September.
What's the reaction been since you started?
Oh man, the audience, they love it. A lot of them have never experienced anything like this before. So they're a bit stunned at what we're able to accomplish and what we're able to do, melding theater and VR. And it's magical because it kind of creates the suspension of disbelief by itself. You put on that headset, you look all the way around you, up, down, all the way, anywhere you look, it's a different world. And you are in a world that it exists, but it doesn't. And so there is this sort of suspension of disbelief that happens just by putting on the headset. And then all of a sudden you've got somebody talking to you and engaging with you in this magical world, and you get lost in it.
Wow. Again, how to get tickets, how much do they cost, what's the required headphones, all that information. Can you tell us again?
Sure. So you have to have, for the Underpresents Tempest, you have to have the Oculus Rift or the Oculus Quest. For the Underpresents, you can have some other ones because it is also on Steam VR. And if you buy a ticket to the Underpresents Tempest, the ticket is $14.99, but it also gives you access to the multiplayer universe of the Underpresents. Not the time boat, the single player game, just the universe. So you're getting not only the ticket to the show, but the ability to go into the Underpresents and meet some live actors randomly, or watch the show, or learn to create new magic, or rebuild a temple, or all the magical things you can do in the Underpresents.
Sounds great. Looks like you're having a great time.
Yes.
Definitely. By the way, how long does the performance last?
It's about 40 minutes.
No, man, the run.
How
How long is the run going to be until?
Till the end of September.
End of September.
Now, I tend to go a little long on my performances. I usually go about 45 to 50 minutes.
Ooh, that's a treat.
I'm having so much fun.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to be at 40.
Outstanding. Well, listen, I want to really appreciate you being here today. Thank you very much. Thank that marvelous publicist that you have, Lucy Pollock. Thank you.
She's amazing. And thank you for all of these amazing shows that you do weekly. It is so hard to do something so consistently for so long. As I was telling you earlier, a lot of Hollywood marriages don't last as long as your show has been up easily. So congratulations.
I call it something to do, just something to do. I have fun. But thank you.
It's
and meet
beautiful.
People like yourself.
Thanks for having
That's
me on.
the joy.
I'm honored.
Thank you. This is The Actor's Choice. I'm your host, Ron Brewington. The studio of Harvey Brandman Photography is an Art is proud to offer you a $100 discount off any photo package valued at $300 or more. Now, Harvey's been in the business for nearly a quarter of a century, and he certainly knows how to take care of his customers. So please give him a call today at 818-954-9294. That's 818-954-9294. You'll be glad you did. And by the way, please tell Harvey that you heard about his offer right here on The Actor's Choice. Haiku, style, passion, heart. It's the latest release from author and attorney Ron Irwin. The book was inspired by the author's first exposure to haiku well over a half-century ago. Now, this experience produced within him a deep passion to experience Asia, which he later did as a U.S. Marine. The book is available in paperback at lulu.com. Irwin says he'll give 20% of net book sales split evenly between the veterans of foreign wars and Vietnam veterans of America. Book to the Future, Time Travel, Message in a Capsule, a book by author Larry Buford. It's a historical and faith-based account of how what we do and follow today will affect us tomorrow. The author also calls it an adventure for those who want to travel back through time. The book is now available in paperback for only $17.95. So please get your copy today. And now, a word from State Farm agent Carla Green. Roll it.
Let me ask you something. What do you see when you look at your home and your car? Do you see a bundle? A combo deal? That's how other insurance companies see them. But a State Farm agent sees so much more. Because the State Farm agent sees your home and your car as more than just four walls and four wheels. They see the things you've worked really hard for. So why not give them the protection they deserve? Let me help you with that. Give me a call. State Farm agent Carla Green, 213-239-9675. I look forward to speaking with you.
Thanks, Carla. And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. For more information, call 213-239-9675. That's 213-239-9675. Attention all actors. An Actor Space provides classes and private coaching by veteran actor Rob Brownstein. An Actor Space is Thursday night classes for working actors and Tuesday night foundation and technique classes for those early career actors. The idea is to build on each actor's strengths and who you are to help refine and reimagine your acting and your career. For more information, contact class@robbrownstein.com. That's class@ronbrownstein.com, or just give him a call at 323-646-1268. That's 323-646-1268. And finally, if you have a product, a service, or an upcoming event that you'd like to see advertised on this program, and you don't, please call 323-533-1036. That number again, 323-533-1036. Our prices are very affordable. Thank you. This is The Actor's Choice. I'm your host, Ron Brewington. Now, my next guest today is a graduate of the University of Southern California's Master of Professional Writing program. He's written 5 feature films and has produced 3 feature films. Most recently, he wrote and produced a feature called Last Girl, which is in post-productions. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to writer, director, and producer, Koji Stephen Sakai. Koji, welcome to The Actor's Choice. Greetings.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you. I see you were trying to call me a moment ago, but we connected. Yes, thank you so very, very, very much. Thank you. People don't understand how we do this. It's the world of technology, indeed.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to get on.
Now, in my research of you, I see that Yigga was the first short film you produced, wrote, and directed in 2006. What was it like working on that project as you got into it?
It was really interesting because it was the first time I really felt like first project I worked on. So it was the first time I felt like I was doing something with my major in terms of getting it written and doing all of it. And it was a really good opportunity. I got a fellowship from a place called Visual Communications, and they paid the fees to me.
Okay. A little knocked over the microphone there, getting a little sloppy there. Got to check yourself, Ron. How did you get into this business, Koji?
Well, it's so I was at USC. And I was I was trying to write the great American novel, but no one wanted anything to do with my writing. And I was going to quit school. And my girlfriend at the time said, you know what? You can't quit school. USC is so expensive. Why don't you take a screenwriting class? So then I took a screenwriting class, and I was like, this is for me. And I learned a couple of weeks. I learned everything. And then I sold my first script over spring break.
Yes.
And I thought, wow, this is easy. It turned out not to be that easy, but it was easier than my other writing. So that's kind of where it all started from.
Would you please go back and tell that young lady that all of us who know you and know what you're doing, thank you very much for pushing you that way. Thank you.
I will.
Because you had, 3 jobs in that one? You were the writer, the co-director, the co-producer. You got a lot of credits on that first film, didn't you?
Well, yeah, it was only a short film, so it wasn't a lot. Everyone had to do a lot of things.
God, you really got it together. Definitely. Then, as I read your bio, you have been very busy cranking out films and TV shows with great variety. Back in 2006, you wrote a horror thriller called Death Ride. Remember that?
Yeah, it was a really long time ago. It came out through Lionsgate. I co-wrote it with the director, and it was really exciting. To be a part of a project that actually got made. You know, one of the most humbling things was going on set and seeing all these people working on something that was in my brain. And that was a really humbling experience to be able to be there and to see that.
Indeed, because that's the one thing that I tell people is my favorite, one of my favorite, it's a favorite of mine, favorite four-letter word, and it's called idea. People get ideas, and that's how things blossom, bloom out, and come into the world. It's so well. When if you got a mind like yourself that's sharp and quick and always thinking about something, you got something going on for you. Definitely. I use the word variety because you seem to have a desire to do more than subjects. What's on your mind?
I tend, one of the things that drives me crazy about this industry is that they try to pigeonhole you in one thing, like, for example, my first film was a horror film. So, for example, everyone wanted me to be only a horror writer. But at the end of the day, I feel strongly that, I have a lot of different stories, and I want to be able to tell a romantic comedy, and I want to be able to tell a drama or a, period piece or a horror film. I love horror, so I want to do all of the above.
Yes. Let me get right to this. What's it like being an Asian in Hollywood?
It's terrible. No, just kidding. Well,
ask that question.
In the beginning though, it was really challenging because there's so few Asian Americans that were in Hollywood. I remember one of the first meetings I went to, and there was another Asian American in the room. And back then, it was the other Asian American executive didn't want to be seen with me because they didn't want to be seen as the Asian, Asian executive. So whereas I saw them as my ally, and that was really interesting to me to kind of go through that. But over the course of time, there's a lot more Asian Americans in the industry.
Yes.
And so it's a lot better of a world now where there's a lot more support and a lot more people out there who are willing to work with me.
Excellent. What do you see in the future for Asians?
I hope there's more diversity all around.
Yes.
I think that's going to be, that's something that's really pushing the envelope. Like, for example, I think TV right now is very much diverse,
yes.
But I don't think film is diverse at all. But I think that it's important that that the films and television reflect what America really is, right?
Yes.
As opposed to just seeing one type of person or one type of anything, right?
Right. I feel the same way because in the show that I do, and we've been doing this show for a couple of years, we try to get as many people from different backgrounds so that people can see that there is diversity. It's an excellent thing to do. And
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Continuing on with your work, sir, in 2007, you did a film documentary called Crapshoot. The documentary.
Yeah, I think I was just interviewed in this documentary though, so I was only I played only a very, very minor role. I don't even remember. I think I have it somewhere, but I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, you played you.
So I don't really remember much that came out of that experience.
Koji, you're something else. In 2012, The People That I've Slept With was another film. I was looking at that last night and wondering, should I put that on the screen? But it's a little dicey, but nice. You completed. I see that beside writing and producing the film, you were also the location manager. That was a good ride. That was a good ride, wasn't it?
Well, only because I found most of the locations because they're related. Either they were my mom's house, they were my stepdad's house, they were my work. At the time, I had a day job, and I had a lot of different places that I had to hustle for. But that was probably one of the most successful films I've ever done. It was a really exciting project because to me it was important to have Asian Americans who weren't talking about being Asian American. It just happened to be that the main characters were Asian American, which is where I think Asian Americans or just any group of people need to go instead of just talking about being whatever different. It's just being a regular human being, and I think that's what's important.
Okay. Starting with the word idea, can you tell us how you prepare, develop, and produce a project?
Do you have like 2 hours for this? No, just kidding. I think that the biggest thing to me is that, and what I always say to people also is that the biggest difference between a professional and an amateur is an amateur waits for inspiration. Whereas a professional, we do it every single day. So what I teach as well. So one of the things I tell my students all the time is when I open my computer, I'm inspired. When I close my computer, I cease to be inspired. I open my computer, I'm inspired. I close my computer, I cease to be inspired. And what that means also is that I don't believe in writer's block. So all these ideas, I want to always come up with. I want to treat this like a business. And people think it's crazy that you can train your brain to be that disciplined. But you can. I mean, it'd be like if I worked at McDonald's and somebody told me to flip a burger and I said I'm not inspired to flip burgers today. They would say I'm crazy. Right. They would say that's not possible. So I think that in the same way, I think ideas and writing and whatever else you're doing that's creative, you have to train your brain to be able to keep doing it all the time. And the other thing I'll say real quick is that you have to be a student of life, to get these ideas. Like I'm always on Facebook. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm talking to individuals. I mean, back when we could go outside, I'm talking to individuals. I'm reading. I'm reading the newspaper. I'm doing all these different things because that's how ideas come from. It's from interacting. It can't be just by myself in my office hanging out.
Koji, if I can share with you, I teach over at Santa Monica College, and one of the things that I tell the students over there is what I call the 3 E's: education, experience, and exposure. Because a lot of kids, they don't understand. Yeah, go out there, get that education. That's great. But go get some experience too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's
you have to
where
be
it's
out.
at.
You have to go out there and do it as well.
Right. The 3 E's, indeed.
And I also say, sorry to interrupt you. I also say that, it's like talent is, I think being successful is having a talent, but it's also about hard work and it's also about who you know. And they're all equally important. And one of the things I did learn at USC was that I wasn't the most talented writer in the world. But what I had over a lot of my classmates was I hustled more than them and I could talk.
Right.
So, and I went out there and I was working. And when they were talking about writing, I was actually writing. So, that taught me right away that those are the things you need to do in order to have a successful career.
Gotcha. We always say good reading equals good writing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And a lot of the people who write don't read enough. So
Exactly.
it's something that you definitely have to do.
This is a very competitive business. That's another thing people don't understand.
Oh, yeah. I say it's actually harder to be a writer than an actor in Hollywood.
Really?
Because I'm competing against everybody who speaks English in the world. Because they're all submitting scripts to Hollywood. If you're in Australia, you're trying to submit scripts to Hollywood. Whereas if you're an actor trying to be in Hollywood, you're probably somewhere in Southern California, right? Because you need to get to the auditions and all those things. But a writer doesn't need to go to those meetings. They could just submit. I mean, Clint Eastwood's movies, one of his last movies was written by a dude from Minnesota. So I'm competing against everybody. Whereas you guys, or not you guys, but actors in general are only competing against people here. So I feel even more pressured to have to fight and claw for everything I get.
My goodness, we could spend a lot of time listening to you, my friend. You have a lot of good stuff there. Tell us about casting. When you're doing a movie, you're casting. How do you get your people?
Well, first, let me just say this about casting. I think as a writer, as a person of color, as a writer, it is important that when I imagine a character, I try to put a race, I put who they are specifically. Because in America, one of the things I found is if I close my eyes and imagine a character that I'm reading in a book, I never imagine him to look like me. I imagine him to be white, male, Protestant, right? So it's important that I put African-American or Asian-American or Latino or something like that. So that's the first thing. So I don't believe in this idea of open casting because open casting just means Caucasian people to me. And so I think it's important that we put people of color in those positions if I see those people of color there. So in terms of casting, though, I think that casting is a really hard thing because ultimately you want to find the most talented actor, but it's also it's also a business. So you need to get the most successful actor as well. So I think that there's always a push and pull about finding new talent, but also finding the talent that will help me sell my movie ultimately.
Excellent. Now, we saw some bits. Let me see. We did one of the movies that I did have a chance to see from you was it was called Comedy Invasion.
Okay.
Tony, would you roll that, please?
Girl, Louis gave Kanye his own shoe. Would tell Louis that I'm a
You Filipino? I go, yeah, why? Then he start talking. What?
And it got so bad to the point where I would write my name on my homework assignments, Otsko Kotska, and she would come over and tape over it, Stacy. Yeah, I know. And I didn't know what was happening at the time.
Thank you. As a writer, Talk about your favorite storytelling. I mean, like, for example, I'm a journalist. And as I tell my people, a journalist is also a writer, except that a journalist is under a deadline. Writers they're not the deadline. So how do you feel about storytelling? What stories are you looking for?
That's a really great question. I'm just looking for things that inspire me, that make me want to keep writing and keep working. Especially if I'm not going to get paid for it, I want to make sure that I could fall in love with a story. You know, one of the things I tell my students, and even when I watch a movie, if I'm watching a movie and I'm telling you all the major moments of the movie, then that means that I'm not into the movie and I'm not having fun watching it. And I think that this business is about telling stories.
Yes.
And you should be so immersed in it that you're not worrying about everything else going on in your life. It's that 2 hours away from your life that could really transport you and make you feel better or learn something or whatever the point of the movie is. So to me, that's what storytelling is just taking us out of our lives to learn something or to be entertained.
Got you. Koji, do you go to plays, movies, et cetera, et cetera?
Oh yeah, I go to everything. I watch as many movies and plays and TV shows as possible. I'm constantly watching things.
Right. God bless you. Bless you. I see that you have an action film out right now. It's in pre-production called The Commando. How's that coming?
It's good. It's been really stressful to have to keep writing. We're on a deadline, and during this time of COVID, to be able to shoot something that is that's safe for everybody, but also to get it done in time is a very challenging process right now.
Got you. Koji, you said you teach screenwriting at both UCLA Extension and the New York Film Academy in Burbank?
And recently Chapman University, so now 3 places.
All right. Spread the knowledge, my friend. Spread that knowledge. That UCLA Extension, I just want to give, I love that place. I went there. I got a couple of courses out there. I encourage a lot of my students to do the same thing. It's a little expensive, but that's okay, because you're meeting people who are at the top in this business right now. We call it UCLA Extension.
UCLA extensions are some of my favorite students because they're very passionate and want to be there.
Yeah. And if you ever notice when you come out of school, there's a guy across the street from the school. He sells submarines, some of the best submarines I've eaten.
Oh, really? I will have to check it out.
Yeah, check it out. And how about the New York Film Academy here in Burbank?
Yes, I teach. I've been teaching there for maybe a year. I teach screenwriting, short films, feature films, and everything in between.
Okay. Busy man as you are, I understand that you are into podcasts.
Yes, I do 3. I have 3 podcasts now. So yes. I do a ton of podcasts. The first one's called Best or Worst Pod. It's where we ask people about their best or worst day of their lives. The second one is called Midnight Watchers, and that's where me and my friends review midnight movies, which I think are terrible and crazy and very disturbing movies that I never want to watch again. And then the third one is Guy Code, and this is a personal one where I'm getting advice for my son. He's 8 years old, and he already doesn't listen to me. He thinks he knows more than me. So I'm gathering advice for my friends and me to give to him that in the future he could listen and he could hope to learn something from me.
Don't all children this age do that? They all do the same thing. I get that too. But you said Guy Code, right?
Guy Code, yeah.
Roll it, Tony.
Welcome to Guy Code.
Yeah. And I think the greatest thing I learned from sports is that hard work pays off. And it pays off, but not necessarily when you want it to and as soon as you want it to.
Yeah.
And you have to put in every day. You got to pay your dues and put the time in every day. As you know, Koji, as a writer, you have to sit at the desk and write. And you have to sit at your keyboard and type.
Outstanding. That's a great show. How do people get in contact with the podcast? How can they get in touch?
The easiest probably way for everything is just go to my website, Koji, Koji, Steven with a V, and Sakai, Sakai.com, and all my website or all my material, all my podcasts, everything is on there. You can go from there to see me.
You started an organization called Little Nalu Pictures. How they doing?
We are like everyone else. We're struggling during this COVID time, but it's exciting to keep trying to make materials and keep trying to shoot stuff and have fun with it.
Okay. People trying to get into the business, what advice would you give them, sir?
Well, 2 pieces of advice that I always give people. One is that you stop talking about what you want to do and do it, because so many people, the biggest pet peeve I have is writers who talk about writing and never write. And then the second thing is to try and do everything. if you sit around and wait, because this business is so much about waiting, wait for a deal, wait for the agent, wait for the manager, wait for money, wait for everything. I hate waiting. I'm just not a person who just like sits around and waits. So my thing is to do everything, try everything, do it all, give 100% to everything. And you never know what's going to happen. And actually what I found in my career is that the projects that the ones that I don't think are going to happen often happen. And the ones that I'm sure are going to happen never happen. So I've had to train myself to give it 100% no matter what I think the outcome of the project will eventually be.
Right. What you going to do with that first $1 million that you make?
I'm gonna make a movie with it. That's I want to keep making movies and keep making projects and keep giving back. I think it's important that we have projects that reflect who we are. So definitely one of my passions is making Asian American projects that have people that look like myself in it, doing regular things and not being a ninja or being a geisha or something.
Gotcha. Koji, you got quite an attitude, my friend. Quite an attitude. Beautiful. Last question. What's in your future that you can talk about?
What's in my future that I could talk about?
Because you don't give away nothing in this town. You don't even tell your mama about what you got.
Well, I think the biggest thing I could talk about is that I have films that are going to be in production. As soon as this COVID situation becomes a little bit more manageable, a lot of my films that are bigger are going to be starting to go in production, and I'm super excited about moving into a different stage of my career.
Wow. Well, Koji, we really, really, really appreciate you being here today. We'd like to have you back again in the future, hear some more about you. And thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. And I'd love to come back anytime.
You got it. Thanks for our sponsors, Harvey Brandman, Photography is an Art, Ron Irwin's Haiku, Style, Passion, Heart, Larry Buford's Book to the Future, Time Travel, Message in a Capsule, and Rob Brownstein's Actor Training School and Actor Space. And much, much thanks to our guest today, actress, producer Deirdre B. Lyons, and producer, writer, and director Koji Stevens Sakai. And of course, special thanks to our ever-growing audience. Be well, and we'll see you next time.